Hey folks, Eric here, the Whatever Guy, because it really is whatever it means. Do you folks want to know how to minimize your risk with THC flower? You guys stick around, man, and I'll talk to you guys about that. As you guys know, my name is Eric. I'm the Whatever Guy, and I usually shoot videos a couple days a week, basically keeping you guys updated in the world of the Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, hemp cannabis, just what's going on around. And today, man, we're going to sit here and talk about THC flower. As you guys know, THC flower has been the advent of a lot of arguments and discussions on social media. And guys, there are a lot of people out there that are like me that cannot afford to get in the game on the medical marijuana level. So those of us that cannot, we fall back to the hemp game. And the hemp game, THCa flower is a legal product that can be sold across the counter in most states throughout the United States, and especially in spots where Delta 8 and stuff like that are being restricted in the 30 plus states. But having said that, guys, I personally sell THC flower. Obviously, I have minimized my risk as much as possible. I have done the footwork to make sure that I'm somewhat, legal, especially even as far as going to the AG and speaking to the Attorney General in the county. For those of us out there, there is basically two sets of rules, and it basically depends on how you read the law. Now, we're going to flip over here to an article over here from Rod Kight. Rod Kight is an international cannabis lawyer, probably one of the leading hemp and cannabis lawyers in the United States, and someone that I lean on as far as legal, the legal issues and stuff that go for THCA. Now he's got this article over here, and basically it's about how to minimize your risks if you're selling THCA flower. And so we're going to take a look at it and see what it says. And I'm going to be reading this as if I'm him. So don't freak out about that. I'm going to read this in the third person. THCA hemp flower is making big news and transforming the cannabis industry in conjunction with hemp-derived beverages. THCA flower is providing broad access to and normalization of cannabis in ways that were unimaginable a few years ago. As I've discussed before, progressive cannabis reformers are shifting their advocacy and focus from marijuana to hemp, both of which are cannabis. THCA hemp-derived beverages, and other hemp products offer an alternative pathway for consumers and businesses across the cannabis market than the federally illegal state regulated market track. Additionally, the federal legal status of hemp means that distributors can enter hemp and hemp products into rapidly expanding global cannabis market, something that cannot be done with federally legal illegal marijuana. Although some monopolistic corporate interest in collusion with old school prohibitionist I can't speak this morning, seek to shut down the hemp path of cannabis reform in favor of propping up existing state-level marijuana regulatory structures, more and more cannabis advocates and industry participants are waking up to a new vision of cannabis reform and commercialization through hemp, a vision that includes appropriate regulations. Unfortunately, and despite the rapidly growing acceptance of hemp as a path forward for cannabis policy, THCA hemp is widely misunderstood. Possessing and distributing it remain a high-risk activities. In this article, I will discuss the risk and offer strategies for reducing them. To read more about THCA, click here, here, and here. The risks. There are two primary risks associated with THCA hemp. The first is possessing or distributing it in a state where it is illegal. This risk can be mitigated by not possessing or selling THCA in those states. In addition to advocating for broader access to hemp products in all states, we provide ongoing advice and counsel to our clients about the legal status of THCA hemp and other hemp products under state law. We also have a 50-state hemp product spreadsheet that we maintain and provide for clients for a flat fee. The second risk with THCA hemp flower is a method in which it is currently tested when seized or obtained via an undercover purchase by law enforcement. Based on our experience dealing with THCA hemp seizures, law enforcement crime labs use a decarboxylation method such as gas chromatography to test the samples they receive, thereby converting the THC to Delta 9 THC. Invariably, and based on this important testing method, law enforcement claims that the seized THCA hemp material is illegal marijuana. And for those of you that don't understand what THCA is basically the acidic form of THC. So when you get that flower, it would test with no Delta 9 THC or a very little minute amount of Delta 9 THC in it, so much that it is considered hemp when it's left the farm. However, when you decarboxylate that or you heat that flower up, that THCA converts into THC, and their testing method automatically decarboxylizes the flower. So if they were to come to your location today and pull that flower up and test it right then in one of those little testers they have in their car, they're going to test it. It's going to test as hemp. It's not going to have any Delta 9 THC in it, not enough to set the test off. However, when they send that off to a lab, their gas chromatography method heats the flower up before it's tested, and on the other side of it, that's going to convert that to Delta 9, and that now makes that an illegal flower. It says here, it is clear that the use of post-decarboxylation methods such as GC is only required for pre-harvest hemp, not harvested material. Use of a decarboxylation testing method on harvested material converts lawful hemp to unlawful marijuana, an activity that amounts to evidence tampering. By using a testing method that decarboxylates THCa, the crime lab literally creates the very molecule it is measuring. Unfortunately, the issue is widely misunderstood, novel, and both stressful and expensive to deal with. Okay, so like if you take that casual dispensary over at Fairhope, Alabama, for instance, they have THC flower in their shop. I know that THC flower is federally legal. As a matter of fact, that their THC flower is legal to be shipped overseas because it falls under the 0.2% THC on a dry weight basis. But once that lab gets it, they were basically converting it in the lab right there. I mean, they are basically tampering, in Rod Kite's opinion. Once they decarboxylate that in testing, it's basically evidence tampering, and that's something that can be argued in court. All right, so risk mitigation for consumers. Do not smoke in the car or in public. As evidenced by this police body cam video, which you can click, showing a violent arrest of a couple smoking lawful THC hemp pre-roll at a bus stop in Charlotte, North Carolina. Law enforcement is woefully uneducated about hemp. Unfortunately, and as the video also demonstrates, the risk is elevated for people of color. Although the charges against the couple in Charlotte were ultimately dropped and the officer suspended, the victims endured a nightmare situation despite acting completely within the law. Yeah, so when you're outside and if you take THC flower out in a bag, guys, and you're sitting out there smoking a pre-roll or whatever the case is, it appears to be just like marijuana. As a matter of fact, if they were to pull that joint out of your hand as it was lit and take it and test it at that point, it is decarboxylizing in his hand. He's able to, so when he picks it up and pulls it away from you and he drops it in his little tester, it's going to come out with Delta 9 THC. So be smart, guys. Don't smoke in cars, don't smoke in public, and just be, and if you're going to smoke, be a smoker, man. Smoke at the house. Transport THCa hemp in the trunk of your car, preferably in a cool container. Since law enforcement is mostly uneducated about the difference between lawful hemp and illegal marijuana, the appearance or smell of cannabis, including THCa hemp, can lead to a search, seizure, and arrest. Keeping it out of the view of and dampening the odor will go a long way towards avoiding an unwanted encounter with the police. Do not consent to an involuntary search, to a voluntary search. Guys, if you're in this game, anytime a cop wants to search you, whether you got stuff in the car or not, the answer to your question, to that question, is always no. You never want to allow them to search your vehicle. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, especially someone like me that has already involved in a situation like that. I had a cop that was messing with me, and he basically stopped me 3 times in a month, and all 3 times he arrested me, searched my vehicle, and had the vehicle towed, and I never touched that vehicle. And the 3rd time he pulled me over, he found a minor amount of marijuana in the car that would have been in there the very first 2 times. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure that minor amount of marijuana was mine. I'm not at 100% positive, but by agreeing to allow him to let him search that car, I got hooked up on a minor possession charge because of that. Always keep a copy of your receipt. And a lot of these companies out there, along with your copy of your receipt, you can also request a copy of a COA. If you're going into these stores, if you go into Greenleaf Plus, if you go into 1308 West 9 Mile Road in Pensacola, and you come in there and buy THCa flower from us, we have COAs sitting right on the counter. You can grab one of those and take it with you, or you can request one on the spot. We would be more than happy to have you leave out of that store with a receipt and with a COA, something that shows, and as a matter of fact, in every package that we mail out, we also send out a letter to law enforcement. That is just something else that we would be more than happy to send you out of the store with. So you guys do your due diligence and be smart about this. Walking around with THCa and smoking it just because you think you're legal, you can end up getting yourself in a lot of trouble because of the ill gains and knowledge that these cops have. They don't have the knowledge to understand the difference between THCa and hemp, or even a hemp, or even CBD. A lot of times people are smoking CBD and it looks and smells and everything is the same as marijuana. It just doesn't have the THC in it. All these rules apply for CBD also, guys. Just because you think you're legal, don't be walking down the road showing it off. Do your due diligence and do like I do and do your shit at the house. It says create a chain of custody. In contrast to the overly regulated, metric-dominated world of state-regulated marijuana distribution, the hemp industry does not have much in the way of an established chain of custody. While this is mostly a good thing that we don't mandate barley to beer tracking, so why require seed to sale tracking? It is important to have a few chain of custody documents in place so that you can more easily prove that your THCa hemp is in fact lawful. Unfortunately, this is straightforward. At a minimum, you should have 3 documents: the cultivator, state, or USDA issued hemp producer permit, the state or USDA pre-harvest report showing that the hemp passed the required post decarboxylation test that is required of all hemp before it can be harvested, and a recent certificate of analysis for the actual THC hemp flower product that you were distributing. And let me just say this, guys. Let me just say, well, here he's going to cover it right here. Confirm that your COAs are real. Unfortunately, COAs are often modified. Doctoring COAs can span the spectrum of simply changing the name of the COA from the producer to the distributor for branding purposes, to changing the values of the cannabinoid percentages themselves. Guys, there are a lot of people out there selling marijuana as THCa flower. So be sure that whoever you're getting your stuff from is obviously someone that is actually sending their stuff off to be tested, and that COA is the proper COA. There is a lot of people out there that do not have the proper COAs on their THCa flower. Never voluntarily agree to a search, which is something we've already talked about. Only ship via USPS. Now, I disagree with this right here, and I'll tell you why after I read it. It says, I have been given this advice for many years. The bottom line is that USPS needs probable cause to open a package. But private carriers, including FedEx, UPS, and DHL, do not. If private carriers smell cannabis, they will open the package and deliver it straight to a local law enforcement, which will have it tested by a crime lab using that post-decarboxylation method. Guys, I'm not sure about the USPS. What I have figured out, and most businesses have figured out, that by getting a hemp handler's license, you can ship your stuff to UPS. I have never had a package taken by UPS, but I have had many packages taken by the United States Postal Service. Matter of fact, I just had a couple packages taken a couple weeks ago from USPS that I was mailing over to Centerville, Georgia. So guys, take that as a grain of salt. The best thing for you to do there is get a hemp handler's license all the way around. If you get a hemp handler's license, you can ship your stuff to UPS and you won't have to worry about the smell. Use a purchase sale contract with a risk loss in transit provision. This is the most overlooked way to mitigate risk of loss of THC hemp shipments. Any good contract involving the shipment of goods, whether the goods at issue are THC hemp buds or running shoes, contains a risk of loss provision that spells out who bears the financial loss in the event of the shipment is lost, damaged, or seized. Too often, I am contacted by someone whose THCa hemp was seized in transit, but there is no contract which specifies who is financially responsible. That is easily corrected by having a solid contract. Guys, these are just a few of the small things that you can do to ensure that your THCa hemp business is running on track. Rod Kight, like I said, is an extremely smart guy. You guys can see this article over at cannabis.law. And if you guys have any questions, please hit me in the comments down in the comment. It's Whatever Guy signing off, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. Love it. See you.